welcome back. This is Mark here over at StretchWorks. Today we're bringing you a table-based stretching that really focuses on that posterior hip. So looking at muscles like the glute med, the glute max, piriformis, and then your hip rotators. So I'll show you kind of below, you can see kind of a picture, a description of what these muscles that we're really stretching today. And if you guys got questions on what maybe the purpose of these are, please let us know. Go ahead and comment below. We always look forward to hearing from you guys. Also, if you do love the video and you do like what we're kind of bringing out as far as content wise, we would appreciate you liking it. We are creating a YouTube channel to really attack, say, different types of stretches that you can do from home that really can help improve your overall flexibility and mobility, because our main goal as to why we opened up stretchers is to really to help people move better so they can live better. So today, again, we're going to go over a table-based stretching. I like to use our nice comfy tables that we have here. The good thing about these is they adjust up and down. However, I'm sure most of you at home don't have this type of access to this type of table. If you do, great, use it. If you don't, the best thing that I always say is you can use the table as long as you put like maybe a nice soft pillow down or blanket, just to give your kind of knee and your leg a little bit of comfort. Or what I always tell people is one of the best things you can do is your bed. It's something you can easily get in and out of. And then we'll kind of go through a little bit later today as far as what things you should be looking for and things that you should be avoiding while you're stretching in this certain position. So this is kind of like a modified pigeon. If you see like people doing on the floor, you can also do it while standing. And again, it has different effects on the body. So you can go to the gym. A lot of times, if the gym has a stretch table, you'll see a lot of people will perform the stretch. However, a lot of times they're stretching in that one plane. And so if you've watched some of our other videos, one of the biggest things we always talk about is using your environment and stretching in all three planes. So, not just front to back or in the sagittal plane, but we do side to side, which is the frontal or transverse, or any part in between. So that's the beauty about stretching and mobility and flexibility, is you can use all sorts of different angles, directions, heights, positions, and those are just some of the easy variables that you can tweak to really enhance the stretch. So today we're going to again go over this easy stretch. So if you want to go ahead and get yourself in this position, for me, my leg is about 90-90. So this for me is a comfortable height. Again, choose the height that's comfortable for you. This is typically a bed height for most people. It may be a little bit lower depending on if you like to jump or have your bed frame lower to the ground as far as being able to get in and out access. But for me, this is a pretty comfortable position. Now, because my knee is not touching the table, it does put a little bit more excessive stress on the posterior hip. So sometimes that can be very uncomfortable for some individuals. If it is, again, we talk about pain, you shouldn't be experiencing any kind of pain or discomfort during the stretching. It should almost feel like relief. If you feel like you're holding your breath or you got pinching going on, those are signs that maybe you should back off, try a different angle to the point where you can still feel the stretch. So really, mobility and flexibility work, above all, it's really about being in tune with your body. And so for this example, what you can do is I have this foam pad. You can use a pillow, of course, or maybe even blankets, or if you've got towels. And then what I typically will tell people, if you don't have the flexibility like I don't have that rotation in my hip, is I'm actually going to put this by my calf and upwards of the knee. So this gives me a little bit more support. If you want to be a little bit more, you can go here. It all depends on kind of position. So find that comfortable position. For me, this is okay. And so the first part of this, once I get into this position, you should already feel a stretch going on. So that's the beauty part, right? Right away, I'm like, well, I'm feeling my hips. This is starting to get a little bit of stretch here. So in doing this, right, one of the key factors is making sure that hip is in more of what's called an anterior position. So anterior tilt is something where the hip is actually forced forward, okay? This might actually hinge a little bit of the back, right? So just be careful, but we're really just kind of doing a little tilt because that's going to accentuate a little bit more of the hip. Why? Because we're doing a little bit more flexion. So as I get back in that position, I'm going to anteriorly tilt, so it's almost like I'm sticking my butt back and that front hip comes forward. You should feel that right away start to trigger a little bit more on that posterior hip. So right as we get started, Go based on your comfort level. Sometimes I tell people you can use your hand. Sometimes if you have the flexibility, you can go ahead and put your elbow. Now, as we talked about in the videos, this is your environment. Utilize it. There's so many different angles, positions, directions that you can reach or even put your hands to help facilitate different types of stretch, okay? So in this one, put my elbow down. This should look very similar to our core floor if you saw that video. So on this, I'm just gonna go ahead and inhale as I reach, and then exhale as I get to that final position. I might do, again, 4 or 5, maybe 10 passes in this direction before I move on. And then I can go in different directions. So notice how my hand's not going away in that counterclockwise position. I'm going out, and I'm using that table for leverage, inhaling and exhaling. Here's some simple things that you can do to really get after that posterior hip. And now that hip is like kind of a fan, right? So we're working on all the different elements on fanning that stretch in the posterior hip. So I played a little bit more to my left, right? What if I decided I want to go ahead and play to my right? So now I can go ahead and reach in that direction. I can reach in that direction if I want. Now you can see, why am I getting a little bit more limited here? Well, because now I'm asking for maybe a little bit more flexion, as well as a lot more internal rotation. And most of us don't have very good internal rotation. And in fact, we've got very limited stuff. So in my case, I do have a little bit more limited internal rotation. And so you'll feel a little bit more difficult, more sticky going this direction, all right? Now let's change it. So instead of putting my elbow, maybe I want to put my hand. This is what the hand will look like. So again, same deal here. I'm leaning forward, keeping my hip in that posterior tilt, anterior tilt, reaching and breathing. So that's my element. So you can play around with it. What if I decided I want to use this as the anchor versus this the anchor? Now I can put my elbow here and start to reach with my right. Notice how that changes. Again, being in tune with your body. How does this feel on my hip? Am I okay? Is it too much? Is it not enough? Right? What do I have to do to adjust my body parts to really start to feel the stretching? Again, just working those different angles. So now that's just on the table. What if I decided to take my hands and I want to reach in different positions? So maybe I'm going to take my both hands and I'm going to reach forward and stretch. Maybe I want to reach a little bit to my left. Or maybe I want to reach all the way to my left. Or I want to reach all the way to my right. I want to reach up. This is where you can get really creative in the stretches. So you probably have seen a lot of videos where, like, why is Mark or Joe, my partner, always putting my hands forward or back, side to side, or rotationally? Well, the reason being is because what we understand is that the body is all connected. There's these things what's called fascial nets. So you've got your deep front line, you've got your lateral line, you've got your front and back arm lines, you've got your functional lines, your superficial front line, your superficial back line. There's so many different lines, and the spiral line, which is probably the most important. But these are different nets and lines that go throughout the entire body, because we know that the shoulder is connected to the hip is connected to the foot. It's all in tune. So what you can do is to influence this a little bit more is you can leverage the other parts of the body to enhance the stretch. But also, when you're stretching this and you're doing those motions, you're stretching other parts of the body. And that's what's the beauty about it, because it's not just focused on here, but you get other elements that are moving as well. And that's how you overall increase the entire capacity of your body's flexibility and mobility. So if we say, hey, in the sagittal plane, we go front to back. So you can see as I go here, I'm adding flexion. I'm gonna get more of that posterior hip. I'm also getting a little stretch here too, which is kind of nice. So it's not just focused on here. This is going to be a little bit more accentuated in here, but you're still working on those muscles. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to get extension here, getting extension there in both hips, both front and back. Now we always say, all right, in frontal plane or sagittal plane and transverse plane. And I'm always typically in those typical areas, right? I'm right here, or I'm maybe at shoulder height. What if you changed it? What if you changed it and used maybe 45 degrees? So let's add in maybe, instead of doing sagittal plane this way, now we're doing sagittal plane this way. I've added a different starting position, or maybe I start this way. Again, changes the element of the stretch, so it doesn't always have to be the same way, although a lot of our videos we show the same way. What about rotation? Here I go rotating this way. What if I want to rotate low? Or what if I want to rotate high? Notice how that changes. What if I want to add lateral flexion here, but maybe I start facing this way and I lateral flex that way? Or maybe I turn more this way and lateral flex that way. Notice how that changes on that posterior hip. Okay, so these are just different techniques that you can do to kind of change the variation. What if I want to go 45-degree cuts? Notice how that changes. So my big thing that I always tell a lot of people is make sure you're exploring. It's really about being in tune with your body, seeing the different angles and how you can improve the overall enhancement of the stretch. Wow, that feels really good. It almost feels like a blood rush to my right leg. If you guys have questions or comments or concerns, like, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and comment below. Our goal is to really try to bring stretching to life and really enhance your mobility. So if you do like the content we're coming up, we'd appreciate the like and definitely subscribe to our page to kind of be on the lookout for new daily posts that we're going to be posting as far as things that you can do from home. So hopefully you learned a little bit today. Appreciate you guys stopping by and visiting. And we can't wait till all this stuff is over to eventually be able to have you guys in maybe at the facility. If you're nearby, definitely check us out. The stuff that we can do as far as table work is definitely a little more enhanced than what you guys are able to do, but this is still good. So, hopefully you guys are taking some of the time to really get to your bodies back to normal. I know exercise has been different because we're not at the gyms, but this is a great kind of time frame where we've been able to focus on things that maybe are lacking in our lives. And I know from a lot of people that I've talked to, stretching is something that hasn't been a priority, but now you really don't have an excuse, especially with a lot of time on your hands. So this is kind of one of the things that we always talk about. It's very important to have a stretching routine when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed. Those who kind of follow these things can notice how their overall quality of life improves. So I encourage you to get after it. Take a look at other videos if you haven't. Again, we appreciate you all. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time, all right? Take care.